You might ask why I used the 3 pictures of my friends and fellow teachers to start a presentation on praise and motivation. I thought I'd think about specific compliments that were meaningful for each person and give an example of what I hope precise praise can be. So I'll start with Amy in the top right corner. This week, Amy did the poetry gift for Ed 201, and she chose a poem for a particular student that was exactly the right poem for that student. And I think that that's success. Teresa Johnson, teaching up in Nome, Alaska, has written 2 significant entries to the Arctic blog for this particular school term. And they brought me to tears because they're a story of transition in such depth and so in such a reflective account that anyone who is about teaching or learning to teach or has been a teacher would respond to them with a resounding yes. And Michelle, just this last week, I have been thinking about possibly doing a hybrid course. And a year ago, I would never have considered that. And it's because of the tutelage I received from you in technology this summer. So thank you. I hope from these examples, it's clear that you have to know someone to give precise praise in a way that counts. That's why I think so many teachers use the good job equivalent so often, because especially at the beginning of the year, we don't know our students
Correct.
very well. So it's difficult to give meaningful praise, but we must never quit trying.
Yes.
What is intrinsic motivation?
Intrinsically motivated students undertake an activity for its own sake. Extrinsically motivated students perform in order to obtain some reward or avoid some punishment.
So why did we choose this picture of you and your son Bryson for the slide on intrinsic motivation?
Well, I decided to take him on a hike, and I wasn't sure. He was only 3, didn't know if he could do it. And the whole time he said, are we done yet? Are we done yet? I said, almost there, almost there. And when we got to the top, he was so, you could tell that intrinsic motivation of I did it was there, and he, look at the view, I could see the whole city, and he was very excited and wanted to do it again the next day. So,
And it was about who he was.
Yes.
3 years old and he climbed a mountain. Do rewards increase intrinsic motivation?
no, they don't.
So giving him M&Ms all along the way to make it to the top?
Wouldn't have helped.
No, it probably would have robbed a little bit of his
Yes.
sense of accomplishment. Then if they don't, what does?
An internal locus of control allows children to start in their own lives and feel powerful. It's all about autonomy.
And I chose this particular slide because Max is playing with his friend Bowie. Bowie has spent a lot of time in the hospital, and the 2 of them are climbing up a slide. Not the stairs, but the slide. And I guess the same sense that Bryson had. They're so proud of themselves for being able to do that. How do we build mastery?
Students who want to look smart differ from mastery-oriented children hell-bent on learning something.
So in these pictures, this little boy is hell-bent on learning how to catch a ball. And he's too young to do it well, but he's never going to stop trying. How do we build autonomy?
Private praise, specific and effort-focused, is only meant for one child.
So here the child is climbing a rock wall, and he's only 5 and he's scared. So the young woman who is directing him is talking about what he's doing right so that he won't give up. How do we build purpose? We motivate by teaching children in community,
building bonds and their sense of purpose.
with worthy content,
Curriculum that matters.
and by giving them choices about what they learn. I remember when we built this slide, Michelle, and we talked about what worthy content was.
Yes.
And you said to me, curriculum that matters. When the teacher doesn't believe that this is curriculum that matters, she can't teach.
No.
Because her sense of purpose has been invaded. So here's an example of purpose. It's a Waldorf school, and the children are preparing soup. So what would that be?
That's the content.
Right, and they're doing it together, so that would be
Community.
And they have a garden outside, and I was just at a Waldorf-inspired school, the Village School, this week, and I watched them gardening, and I presume they had some choices about which vegetables went into the soup. So when we talk about community, and we talk about the cooperation involved in building community, I know that we all know that starts at home. So with Bryson, as you're raising him, what do you need to do with him at his very young age to help him understand that cooperating in the community of the family is important?
Well, cooperation requires and develops interpersonal skills. So just teaching him how to be a part of a family, a part of a community, just one-on-one relationships. Because if you can't have a relationship with one person, it's difficult to have one with the whole class.
Does he have any chores that he does at home?
He does. He helps put away the silverware, and he helps put the plates on the table. Obviously, I have to get the plates for him, but he's, it may change when he's 11, but right now at 4, he's so excited to be able to help and be a part of our, the family unit.
He's needed.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this picture, we have worthy content choices, beginning with teachers who read. So I remember when I first showed this slide, one of my students said, "How do you know that's a teacher who's looking at the books?" I just decided that it was a teacher because it's someone who is engaged in the act of choosing a book that is going to mean something to him. So what is the last book that you read for fun that meant something to you?
The Hunger Games.
And why was that fun?
It wasn't too complicated, but it still had a pretty good plot line, and the characters were developed, and it was a fun book to read.
And the series books, there are a lot for adults now and a lot for children. And I couldn't wait for the last of the 3 Hunger Games books to come out. And I'm currently in the middle of a book called the Century Trilogy, 3 books being written by Ken Follett about the 20th century. And I just finished World War II. Oh, I can't wait till he writes the 3rd. I want to write him a letter, please write, just like the kids.
Yes.
So with choice, what does it mean, do you think, for children to direct their own learning?
Well, I think it is more important, especially with the technology that is out there and what students have access to, is if teachers have the end content goal of what their students need to learn, letting the students choose how they want to meet that end goal. If it's in a presentation, if it's using the iPad to look up information, if it's writing a book report and then making a movie about it, giving a sense, letting the children have a sense of autonomy of they got to choose how they learned or presented what they learned.
And you talk about autonomy and we speak about imagination with choice. I so remember Bryson a year or 2 ago when he had that game, that app which involved the car running on the iPad and the whole world he could build at his young age in his imagination. So it was technology, but it was also kinesthetic and it was also Bryson. So when we say that technology sometimes takes over from children, it can, but it can also foster imagination. So sticking to the specifics, why is I like not what we want to say and I see what we're aiming for?
Well, when you say I like, you're taking the compliment away from the student and making it about the teacher. And the student is no longer wanting to do it for intrinsic reasons. It's to please the teacher. Well, the teacher liked it when I did it this way, so let me do it this way again.
Yeah. So this growth mindset, I'm wondering if we can encourage children to have a growth mindset if we don't have it ourselves. I know I certainly struggle with a fixed mindset in art. And I'm working on every day to emerge from that and to believe that I can draw and paint and create something worth drawing and painting and creating. And if I spend more time on it, I can. Problem praise is not about connecting, and it's not about noticing. So if I say, I like the way Johnny is sitting quietly with his hands folded, I'm not saying it for Johnny, am I?
No.
Yeah. And how do the other children see Johnny when I do that?
It makes them, the attention is all now on Johnny, and it can make Johnny insecure, or oh my goodness, everyone's looking at me, and so it could potentially be, hurtful for the student.
Well, I think so too. So I know that some students in 200 have a fixed mindset when they first start with their picture book. Just 2 days ago, I was visiting a school with a teacher who was my former student. And my current student, the teaching intern, pulled her picture book off the shelf to show me. It had been seen many times. It was falling apart, but it was loved by the kids and by her. And I think that when she first started that picture book, she wasn't sure that the art piece was going to work for her. Do you remember when you did your picture book?
I did, and at first I was just going to use pictures from the internet, and then I ventured and chose watercolor pencils, and I used pictures on the internet to mimic, and so it was guided.
But everything in the arts is guided.
Yes.
Is there a particular picture that you created that you remember that you had felt most successful about?
There's one, it's part of the book where the student's thinking about what she's going to do in the story, and it's a picture of a hand, making the shh, and it just shows, it was just the picture of the hand, shushing, and it just, I don't know, spoke to me.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to end with the words of a poet, Kelly Groom, and she wrote a book that I read. Many poets are also fiction writers, and this book was not about praise, but there was a moment in the story where I folded the paper over because I wanted to save that page, and she did write about praise and children in a way that I think is unforgettable. Many poets write that way. So we try not to read from our PowerPoint all the way through. We leave you to read, but in this case, because it's the words of a poet, we're going to read it together. Volunteers are taught to notice what the child is doing and to say it out loud. She said it's what a child wants most, that noticing.
In June of 1965, I was a flower girl at a wedding. My mother bought me a beautiful dress that touched the floor, spilling out in waves. I wore the ocean in the shape of a girl.
When I walked down the aisle, my dress carried me. I felt like myself. Everyone turned to see. It was what a child wants most. It means,
I'm here.
In these references, we've added thank yous to students in 201 for their critique.